Alright, let's try this again. So today we are going to review, because I don't know what was going on with my brain. It seemed to be still scrambled from watching the fights, but for some reason I lost my whole train of thought the first time I tried to record this. But anyway, I'm going to reload this up on my phone here, but the Wi-Fi's super slow. For whatever reason, it's been more temperamental than usual lately, so just bear with me. But today we are going to review Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, which is I believe it's a second film in the Puss in Boots series, unless there's been another one that I just didn't know about, but I'm pretty sure it's only the second one, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, well, hold on. Oh no, okay, that's just a little short, alright. Okay, so no, yeah, it was, because the first one was way back in 2011. Like, crap was really that old. Good God. Well, I'm gonna have to go back and watch that then. I've completely forgotten what the story of the first one even was. It's been that long. Over a decade, I guess, since I've seen the movie. Wow, that seems crazy. I didn't think it had been quite that long, because in 2000, well, I'm 29 now. So, wait, hold on. There's no way I was only... No. How old would I have been? That doesn't make any sense. 29. Yeah. I'm trying to think of how old I would have been in 2021. Why is that so hard to think of? 27, I guess. So I would have been 17 when the movie came out. If I'm thinking about that correctly? Yeah, somewhere around there, because my birthday's late. It's in October, so just trying to do the math on that real quick. So this movie was insanely good for... Now, DreamWorks, I think, always does a really good job of doing, like, the different types of animation and so on and so forth. Especially with, like... I don't really know how to describe it exactly, but, like, the layering that they do and the different styles of animation within the film, which was very similar, actually, to the bad guys, the same sort of thing the bad guys did, but you really have to keep an eye out for that sort of thing, otherwise you wouldn't really even notice it. But it was just, yeah, very, very much layered in different styles and types of animation mixed into the entire film, which made the film even better, because when he's fighting the big giant at the very beginning of the film, that scene was absolutely excellent. It was almost like anime, like animation almost mixed in with like the kind of cartoony animation that the Puss in Boots is, like with DreamWorks sort of thing. So obviously, if you don't know the cast, I should probably just start with that before we get too deep into talking about the movie. So Antonio Banderas plays Puss in Boots, and it's also kind of allowed him a little bit to kind of play out how I guess the Zorro character would have probably worked out if there had been sequels to the Zorro movie. Because you can see, like, with the sword where he draws the P instead of the Z, like, into all of his enemies or wherever he's been, kind of thing. Like, that's his mark, is the P for Puss in Boots. And then I forgot that Selma Hayek was even in the first movie. She played Kitty Softpaws, who is another outlaw thief, kind of like very similar to Puss in Boots, obviously. And then so this story is about this wishing star coming down and hitting Earth and basically putting darkness over the whole planet and creating this section called the Dark Forest. And you have to find the map to the star to make your wish. So when he's battling the giant at the very beginning of the film, he dies for the 8th time, which means he has his last life left. So obviously he well, not obviously. So he decides to give up the Puss in Boots name and goes to this, uh, based on the doctor's orders. He goes to this woman named Mama Luna, who is played by Divine Joy Randolph. Actually, I've never heard of her, so she's new. She's a new actress to me. So he goes to her place and takes over a new name, Pickles. That's what she names him. And I guess she has like a whole bunch of, I guess the health and safety organization after her or whatever, because she has so many cats. And when she brings him in, you can see why, because there had to be like 100 to 200 cats in her house. And obviously, so just before that though, he goes to the bar to order to order milk, or milk or cream. I can't remember which one it was. And that seems to be how he gets intoxicated. So it's kind of funny to see that. And he runs into this, what we think at the time is a bounty hunter anyway, who has been following him for quite some time. And I guess because he's down to his last life, that's why this guy wants to take it from him, I believe. But now, obviously, he's starting to fear who he is. He's not the same as he used to be, I guess, because he's overthinking his last life or whatever, and he ends up being kind of outshined by this bounty hunter in this little bar. So he decides to run away and then go to Mama Luna's, and then Goldilocks and the three bears come after him because he has a pretty hefty price on his head for some of the stuff he's done in the past, obviously. So Goldilocks was played by Florence Pugh, and I didn't even really hear it in her voice in the first time I watched it in theaters, but I just went back and watched it on Friday here, and I could hear it a little bit. She has that like kind of soft tone at the end of every sentence, which kind of gives her away a little bit. And then Mama Bear was played by Olivia Colman. Papa Bear was played by Ray Winston, and Baby Bear was played by Samson Kao, I guess is his name. Is he actually British? I kind of wonder. Oh yeah, he is. Okay, cool. So they are all after the map to the Wishing Star for obviously their own reasons, right? They all want to be able to make their wish and nobody else's. So this other character, the villain in the movie, which was just absolutely hilarious. He's kind of like the I don't really know how to describe him. Kind of like that voice you have in your head of all the bad things you know you shouldn't do, but they're kind of right there. He just has like no care about anybody or anything, and just kind of lives life by himself basically. So Jack Horner is his name. So he was little Jack Horner, who was basically given a whole bunch of wealth because of his mother and father's pie industry. So now he's running it, and he has all these artifacts from over the years. So he's quite the collector. So obviously he wants a piece of the Wishing Star too, right? In order to make his wish to actually have all the magic in the world so nobody else can have any. And along the way he brings this, I guess, bottomless bag with all his tools that he needs in it. And he has this group called the Baker's Dozen with him. And so they're all trying to get to the place where the Wishing Star is. So they have to go through this portal or whatever into this other land type deal. Or I guess the entrance to the Dark Forest is what you would say. Kind of like, yeah, when they get there, when Kitty Softpaws and Perito, who is a dog dressed as a cat that Puss meets in Mama Luna's house, and they kind of they definitely become friends as over the course of the film. But even though Puss tries to ignore it for sure, um, yeah, there is a very sentimental moment between the two of them where they kind of bond a little bit more. Uh, what else was I going to say there? Uh, so yeah, they're definitely in a race for the star. They know that Goldilocks and the three bears are obviously after them. So Mama Bear, Papa Bear, and Baby Bear. They know that they're after them, and they hear them fall not too far behind them. Uh, so Perito, who seems to be a very selfless dog, I guess that's kind of the thing. The difference between dogs and cats is that cats can be very kind of closed off, and dogs are kind of carefree. And so he never seems to realize that even when he's taken a serious amount of abuse from his friends in the past, when he's telling them about hide and seek and being thrown in the water to basically drown, and he thought he was just found a really good hiding spot or whatever, and had to get to the bag and swim back to shore, but he won the game. It was just kind of funny because Kitty Softpaws tells him like not to trust anybody and kind of live for yourself, which is not how he lives anyway. So they're basically following his trail to the wishing star on the map because he's selfless. So his trail is nice, and both Puss and Softpaw's trails are like absolutely horrible. It's basically like a valley of death that they would have to travel through if they took their paths. So they kind of take the easy way out for sure. But as Jack Horner and Goldilocks and the three bears are after him, obviously, the map gets all messed up at certain points because every time somebody touches it and looks at it, it changes the pathway. So there's a lot of, they get separated at some points for sure, and Jack Horner loses his whole crew right down to the very last one. And the bug that he pulls out of the bag that is trying to be like his saving grace, I guess, basically. What was the bug's name? Oh, come on, it's got to be here somewhere. Maybe it's up further. Oh yes, the ethical bug. That's what he was. But eventually it just gets to the point where the bug even can't take any more of Jack Horner, and he just goes, "You're horrible. You're a horrible person." And Jack goes, "Took you long enough," like sort of thing, and then like flicks him away. But the bug does come back in the end when they're having their last little battle there on the star, and Goldilocks' wish was to have a real family. And I guess she kind of tries to tell the bears that did they really think she was going to stick around for her entire life? She wants to kind of have some normalcy, but then she realizes that she's already got that, even though they may be different, obviously. Like, obviously, humans and bears shouldn't really be coexisting, but because she came in as a young child and changed their lives, she's realizing how much of an impact they had on hers, and she was raised by them, right? So she does eventually decide to take the right path and save Baby Bear when he's getting sucked, I don't know, God knows where, through some other portal from the star. She decides to save him, and then we find out actually when Softpaws and Puss get separated and he goes into the cave to see all his old alter egos. He then realizes that the wolf that's been following him this entire time isn't actually a bounty hunter, but it's actually death itself that's been following him because he's down to his last life. And Death selfishly wants to take this last life from him because Puss hasn't actually valued any of his other lives. So now that he's down to this one, his wish is to get his 9 lives back. And I obviously Soft Paws didn't realize this when she said they could share the wish. So he's not trying to be, well, he is doing it sort of for a selfish reason, but also because he's scared for his life now, right? Because he only has one left. So he wants to have the 9 back so he can actually feel like he's somebody I guess. But she said he's too connected to the legend, and when they were supposed to get married, they both never showed up to the altar anyway, thinking that they had abandoned the other one there. And she said, yeah, she didn't show up because she knew that she could never compete with his one true love, which was himself and the legend of Puss in Boots. So why would she show up when she was not going to be getting married to just him himself, but to the legend? She would have had to live very differently with him in that state of mind, right? But she thinks that he's changed a bit, and then he goes and does that. But then when Death finds him on the star and has this final battle with him, Death eventually leaves because he's fine with just living the one life. So he says, we'll meet again, and Puss goes, for sure. And then they have to defeat Jack Horner after they throw him into the bag and he eats his candy that makes him this massive giant. And they eventually are able to defeat him thanks to the help of the ethical bug riding the little phoenix that Jack had when he was torching all the demon flowers in the dark forest, right? So yeah, they're able to stop Jack from getting his wish, which was probably good, thankfully, because if he had magical powers that just all to himself and nobody else had any, don't think that would have been good for anybody, because yeah, he just was all about wanting the power. Although he was probably honestly, besides Puss in Boots, my favorite character in the movie, because it just seemed like he was, I mean, everybody was doing it for their own reasons, right? And I guess he never felt like he got enough attention when he was a kid. Even though he definitely tried, he always seemed to be outshined by somebody else. One of them being Pinocchio. Oh my God, I can't talk today. So yeah, and there is a little thing at the end of the credits, if you did get to see this in theaters, it's also on the actual movie. Watching it at home now, it just goes, oh, you're still here? So I thought there was going to be something, because at the end, when they're all connected together, or when they're all together again and they're leaving, Preto has created this thing called Team Friendship for the 3 of them. So that's what they're going by now. They're wanted as Team Friendship, or Team Friendship Wanted was what the poster said. And so at the very end of the movie, it shows Puss, Kitty, and Preto sailing into the far, far away. And so that was huge, because it looks like now they're going to be, at least what it says now is it's going to be like a reboot of the Shrek franchise. Now, I don't know if it's going to be like an entire reboot, or they're going to scrap that idea and maybe do like a 4th movie. Because there's only been 3 Shrek movies, right? Or am I losing myself there too? That's not how you spell Shrek. I think there's only been 3 Shrek movies. Oh my God, wait, hold on. Oh, there's been 4. Okay, so Shrek, Shrek 2, Shrek the Third, Shrek Forever After. That was the last one. Okay, interesting. And then it says here, Untitled Shrek Reboot. So the production's been announced. Now, whether they'll bring back the old cast to voice them, I don't know. Or whether they're just gonna, or whether this is gonna be like a more geared towards like the Puss in Boots story side of things. I'm not really sure how they're gonna do this. And is it gonna be as good as the originals? That's the thing, because it is a reboot. So I hope they do it justice, but I guess we'll see when it's even going to come out, if it is, because I don't think anything had been announced until after I had checked IMDb, after I went to see Puss in Boots. So it's kind of interesting to see whether that's going to be, yeah, what exactly they are going to do there. I guess we'll see. So I did give this movie a 8 out of 10, because I thought it was funny. especially the new character Perito. I'm hoping they bring him back because when they were razzing each other, oh my God, you could definitely tell this film was geared towards the more adult side of things, I think. Um, like comedy wise, I believe. Now, obviously, you can still go see it with kids because kids will laugh at anything, even if they don't understand it. Uh, I can attest to that because, yeah, I used to laugh at a whole bunch of stuff, and then when you grow up and you learn stuff, you're like, oh my God, that's what they were saying. This movie's really not for kids, it's for adults, but you kids can watch it because they won't know what's going on anyway, so it won't make a difference until they're the same age as us, right? And then they'll go, oh. Sort of that self-realization of what was actually being said in some movies and what was going on. It's like, wow, yeah, Disney and all the other animators really sneak in some stuff, don't they? Just for us. So yeah, he was a good addition to the movie. Obviously Jack Horner. I'd maybe like to see him back because I don't really feel like the way they defeated him was. I feel like possibly he could still somehow make a reappearance. Kind of seems that way. Kind of seems like a pretty big cliffhanger ending for his character, being he was just introduced, and if they're doing a reboot, kind of feels like he could be a pretty impactful villain in like a Shrek reboot series, and he could be around for a while. You know what I mean? Know what I'm? Yeah. Do you know what I'm saying? Oh my God. So anyway, yeah, 8 out of 10, and I think I've pretty much covered everything. Yeah, I have. So I guess I will see you guys in the next review. Bye bye for now.